Hi guys, it's Mrs. Keith. I'm going to read chapter 9 of Encyclopedia Brown to you from my backyard. So this is chapter 9, The Case of the Missing Roller Skates. Between 9 and 9:30 on Tuesday morning, Sally Kimball's roller skates disappeared from the waiting room of Dr. Vivian Wilson's office. And where was Encyclopedia Brown, boy detective? He was not 10 feet away from the scene of the crime. He was waiting in a chair, with his eyes shut and his mouth wide open. In a way, he had an excuse. Dr. Wilson was pulling one of Encyclopedia's teeth. "There," said Dr. Wilson. He said it cheerfully, as if he were handing Encyclopedia an ice cream cone instead of a tooth. "Ah," said Encyclopedia. Dr. Wilson said, "All right, hop down from the chair." Encyclopedia hopped down and put the tooth in his pocket. He was going to give it to Charlie Stewart, who collected teeth and kept them in a floured cookie jar. Ugh. Encyclopedia went into the waiting room. The chair on which he had left Sally's roller skates was empty. He looked behind the chair. He dropped to his knees and looked under the chair. "The skates! They're gone!" he exclaimed. "Are you sure you brought them with you?" asked Dr. Wilson. "I'm sure," answered Encyclopedia. "They were broken. I fixed them last night for my partner, Sally Kimball. I was going to take them over to her house on my way home from your office." Dr. Wilson shook his head sadly. "I'm afraid you will never get them back." But Dr. Wilson knew nothing about detective work. Encyclopedia liked the dentist, though he felt that Vivian was a better first name for a woman than a man. I agree. And here's a picture of Encyclopedia Brown looking for the skates. There's Dr. Wilson in the background. Okay. "I'll find the skates," said the boy detective. He spoke with certainty, but he felt no such thing. What he felt was the blow to his pride. It was worse than the hurt in his jaw. Imagine a detective being robbed! In the corridor outside Dr. Wilson's office, Encyclopedia leaned against the wall. He closed his eyes and did some deep thinking. Dr. Wilson's office was on the ground floor of the new medical building. The building had 3 floors and 15 offices. All the offices were used by doctors or dentists. What if the thief had followed him into the building in order to steal the skates? Then the case was closed. I could spend the rest of my life looking through closets, school lockers, and garages all over Idaville, Encyclopedia thought. But suppose the thief had simply come into the building to see a doctor. Suppose, on his way in, he had noticed a boy carrying a pair of roller skates. Well, that was something else. Encyclopedia reasoned further. The thief could be a grown-up, a boy, or a girl. He ruled out a grown-up first because it was unlikely that a grown-up would steal a pair of old and small skates. Second, because a grown-up would be too hard to catch. Too many men and women went... That's my cat's tail. Well, you want to come up and see the book? Say hi. Hi. That's Willie's tail. He's just walking past me. Sorry. He ruled out a grown-up. First, because it was unlikely that a grown-up would steal an old pair of small skates. Second, because a grown-up would be too hard to catch. Too many men and women went in and out of the medical building every hour. I'll have to act on the idea that the thief is a boy or a girl, he decided. It's a long chance, but the only one I have. He opened his eyes. The case called for plain, old-fashioned police legwork. Encyclopedia began on the ground floor. He asked the same question in every office. Were there any boys or girls here to see a doctor this morning? The answer was the same in every office. No. Things looked hopeless, but on the top floor he finally got a lead. The nurse in room 301 told him a boy named Billy Haggerty had been there this morning to have a sprained wrist treated. Encyclopedia asked the first 2 offices, just to be sure. The last two offices, just to be sure. Neither doctor had treated children that morning. Billy Haggerty became suspect number 1. Encyclopedia got Billy Haggerty's address from the nurse in room 301. He hurried back to Dr. Wilson's office to use the telephone. He called Sally. He told her to meet him in front of the Haggerty's house in half an hour. "We may have some rough going ahead of us," he warned. But Billy Haggerty turned out to be only an inch taller than Encyclopedia and shorter than Sally. Billy drew himself up to his full height at Encyclopedia's first question. "Were you in Dr. Vivian Wilson's office this morning?" "Nah," snapped Billy. "I don't know any Dr. Wilson." "You didn't ask anyone? You didn't ask anyone about Dr. Wilson?" put in Sally. "I never heard of him before you spoke his name," said Billy. "Then you went straight to your own doctor on the 3rd floor?" said Encyclopedia. "Yeah, Dr. Stanton in room 301. What's it to you?" Dr. Wilson's office is down the hall from both the stairs and the elevator," said Encyclopedia thoughtfully. "You wouldn't pass his office going up or coming down." "I know where his office is, and I don't care," said Billy. "It's none of your business where I was." We just want to be sure you weren't in Dr. Vivian Wilson's office this morning, that's all," said Sally. "Well, I wasn't. I had a sprained wrist, not a toothache, so why would I go near his office?" demanded Billy. "I don't like snoopers. What are you after?" Oh, this guy's totally guilty. "A pair of roller skates," said Encyclopedia. "Do you mind returning them? You've given yourself away." Ugh, that Billy totally gave himself away big time, like 3 times, I think. So, what gave Billy away? You should know. That one was pretty simple. Go to page 87 for the solution, but I'll read you the solution. Billy Haggerty said that he had never heard of Dr. Vivian Wilson, but that he didn't know where his office was. But he knew too much about him. He knew that Dr. Vivian Wilson was 1, a man and not a woman, and 2, a dentist, not a doctor. When he was tripped by his fibs, Billy returned the roller skates to Sally. Problem solved. And that's the end of chapter 9. Bye-bye.